In one of my past lives, I spent a fair amount of my time teaching strategic management, and I used to always make the statement strategy follows structure, probably because I was teaching the students strategy. And I wanted them to be mindful that a successful strategy will tap into the existing organizational structure. In other words, if you have an organization that you're analyzing and building a strategy for, you need to consider how that organization is structured. If it's departmentalized by geographic region, then you have operations in one place and operations in another location, maybe overseas or maybe within the United States. You need a structure that recognizes that unique, you need a strategy rather that recognizes that unique structure. Or you build a strategy around something you can't implement very well. And as I was teaching many years later, I was doing some preparation for the classroom, and I was thinking, I want to talk to them about structure follows strategy, or what was it again? Strategy follows structure. And I honestly couldn't remember. So I looked it up. I thought, well, that's what we do. We look it up before we go to class, and I found both, and I found reasoning for both. And I thought, all this time, I thought it was just sort of I thought of it as a one-way thing because I was teaching strategy. I thought people who are thinking about building a strategy need to look at the structure. Well, conversely, people who are looking at building a structure need to consider the strategy. So both strategy follows structure, and also structure needs to be built out to facilitate the strategy of the organization. And I had not really thought about that. It makes complete sense. Here we're talking about organizational design and structure. How you organize yourself, whether it's geographically or some of the other ways that I'm going to talk about, depends by a large extent on what your strategic goals are, what your long-term plan is. And you should change your organizational structure over time to facilitate this execution of the strategy that you have in place. Now, both can be changed. You can change an organization's strategy for sure, but you can also change an organizational structure. It takes a little bit of time and effort to do so, because sometimes literally changing an organizational structure means you change where people work from, you change what locations they are. That can be costly and consume a lot of resources for the organization, but it's a investment in creating an organizational structure that can better facilitate the execution of a strategy that is key to being competitive in the marketplace. So we ought to always examine the organization's strategy when we're looking at opportunities to change the way in which we're structured. That's it.